I know a few people who think that way, especially someone I know that really loves ship coins and ship bars.
Okay. He must have one of these then.
Let me bring you back up again.
He must have the noble.
What's up, everyone? Tiger Stack here. I've got a wonderful interview with you with a fella who is in the precious metals arena. He's been in the arena for some time. He is a gold and silver and other precious metals dealer. You've seen him on my channel before. You've seen him on other channels before. And we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic today, the rising price of silver. What's all the different nuances of it? And we're going to get it from someone who deals in the buying and the selling of it. I'm talking about the owner of ARK Silver Gold Osmium, my dear friend, Ian Everard, who is the owner of ARK Silver Gold Osmium in Wyoming. How you doing, Ian?
Really good. And thank you for that introduction. I feel like I'm on a game show and I'm going to win the $1 million prize. Thank you.
That works. I can be the host. That way I can have a real job. I asked you to come on board because I want to go over some things that we've talked about briefly and then go on into what's going on with the rising price of silver. So I think the very first thing that we're going to have to talk about is when we last met, we talked about the comparative prices of Bitcoin to gold. Yep. Gold and silver, however, have gone up now $66 and has been $1,420 plus with being the new floor. What do you make of the persistence of silver gold prices in our current market?
So let's stick to silver. I've studied that more, but often when one talks about silver, gold has similar characteristics monetarily, and vice versa. So silver, yes, it seems very dramatic, but other more numerous, more mass metals like copper have done similar moves to what we've seen this year in silver. Copper went up 3 times in 9 months and never went back down again. So although it seems dramatic and a lot of stackers have been waiting a long time to even break even, this is just the beginning of a balancing, a bit partially a beginning to account for the physical deficit in the industrial world, partly silver doing what it always does with gold. It gives an account of the currency debasement, but there's a long way to go until that is reconciled.
Understood. What do you think of what's behind all of this? Is it AI, global geopolitical events, recent wars coming to an end, yet the war in Ukraine still persisting? Is it the BRICS nations and all the nations along with it being persistent? Is it the crypto market dropping? The fact that China and India are pushing for delivery of physical gold and silver, while the U.S. is pushing for a crypto-like currency like stablecoin. Do you see gold and in particular silver climbing as a result of these factors?
Wow, you've asked me 5 or 6 things at once there. So let's start with the last one. Which the last one I think is it China and the East paying more attention, or as in, Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Chinese government has now made it illegal for only all but 20 companies to export physical silver without express permission. I think that is huge. I am sure up until now, Shanghai has been in collusion with London and New York, that if London was short of silver, they could say they had silver because they knew they could get it in a day or two from New York or from Shanghai. So, the way that played out, any of the free exchanges, if they were a little bit short or a lot short on silver, could say they had it. And if they had to produce it, they could produce it in a timely enough manner that nobody would know that they didn't actually have it at the time they said they had it. So what I'm trying to say is they've almost made silver omnipresent. Like the same piece of silver is in 3 different locations at the same time. If they wanted to be completely transparent and prove us stackers and all of the analysts, the Silver Institute, that there is plenty of silver, all they need to do is to do an inventory of the bar numbers. Every COMEX 1,000-ounce good delivery bar, which is normally in the plus or 10% of a 1,000-ounce range, has a serial number and it has a refiner's number. It would not be that hard to register them all, i.e., they're all registered anyway with the individual refiner who produced them, will have permanent records of that. All the exchanges would have to do is to state which bars they have in their exchange. That way, they wouldn't be able to say they've got more by counting a bar that's somewhere else. They're not going to do that because that would reveal, they're on leverage. Now, you asked a lot more points there. Do you want to refresh me on one more, two more of those ones?
The first thing was, do you think it's artificial intelligence or global geopolitical events?
Okay, let's focus on that. So, geopolitical events, absolutely, because China has been preparing the ground and making sure they are going to win a commodity war for decades. They've played many games which are serious in consequence in the outworking. You just look at what they've done with the rare earths. They've cornered the refining of them, refining over 90%, and on certain ones 100%. And they've done that by every time competitors in the West started to set up to refine them and process them, they would crash the price down and bankrupt their competitors. Everybody in the West is now, it seems, too scared to invest heavily in refining anything, too scared to invest in plant and infrastructure. In China, it's a government decree decision and it gets done. I'm not saying that's the right way of doing it. Definitely wouldn't want to live in China. I do not like that setup. But when you're talking about a commodity war, we're not even playing checkers and they're playing chess. That we are outmaneuvered. In not just the exotic metals, not just in silver now, even in metals like copper. 8 of the largest 22 copper smelters in the world are in China. From what I understand, copper ore from Arizona, USA, gets sent to China for smelting. So they got a control on a lot of metals. And when the market becomes tight, you don't need a lot of control, but then you can control the whole market dynamics. Having 8 out of 10 of the largest copper smelting facilities, they could shut down the West's access to copper.
We're going to visit that here in a little bit.
Now, AI, I think AI has... Now, I think there's 2 angles to that. I mean, the main angle most people look at, the voracious need for silver. Mainly, and I don't know if most people know this, but the main use, from what I understand, is it's the best heat sink. So you have silver heat exchangers on the components, on the chips that run hot and need to be cooled rapidly and consistently, because silver will suck the heat out of something and disperse it rapidly. There isn't any better conductor for heat, let alone all of the silver required for the high-end electrical solders, which often are alloyed using 5-9 silver. And a lot of high-end equipment will have silver wires if you want to minimize the resistance, because it's the best electrical conductor. So yes, the rise in data centers, the huge, I mean, the supposed trillions of dollars being poured into that, is a huge consumption of silver.
It is. I haven't looked into the heat component of it, but silver's resistance to electricity is 1.59 times 10 to the 8th ohm meters.
Nothing better at room temperature.
And the closest that comes to it is copper, which is 1.63, if memory serves me correct.
It's a big gap. Yeah.
The other component I mentioned was that the BRICS nations and all their affiliated countries and their persistence, where we've been pushing for stablecoin, where they're starting to at least 40% peg their currencies to precious metals.
Yeah, I mean, the whole word stable and coin, it's a joke, isn't it? Because they're saying a stable coin is stable because it's always worth $1. But we know a dollar is continually losing, by design, its purchasing power. So what is stable about that? It's a joke. Absolute joke.
I agree totally with that, but most of our country does not understand that because they don't understand sound money.
And look at the crimes that are being committed with stable coins. I mean, do you remember Luna?
No.
Luna was a fairly early stable coin that collapsed, and $45 billion disappeared somewhere.
Well,
So that was really stable, wasn't it?
that makes sense. And I do know that the financial advisor to Putin has advised him to stay away from our stablecoin because it's going to spread the risk and the debt.
Yep. That's the plan. Yeah. I mean, Tether, I think they've improved because they're now holding a lot of US Treasury debt. So that's guaranteed to be worth $1, but there's no guarantee what that dollar is going to be worth, except it will be worth less tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So yeah, that probably is stable, but it's a guaranteed proposition, but it's losing purchasing power. So it's bizarre that anybody could think because something is called stable, it is. It's like some nutty person saying I'm a very stable genius, isn't it? You know, it's like if you have to say that, it's not. If you have to say it's stable, it's not stable.
That makes sense.
And what's the opposite? Unstable. I do not want to store any wealth, and I wouldn't advise any friends or clients or acquaintances to store their wealth in something that is unstable.
So true.
And I'm not talking about volatile, because volatilities are completely different. A lot of people's argument about silver in particular is too volatile. You know, I'll buy it one day and then it goes down and there's high premiums and there's big spreads. It's just too volatile. So that put a lot of people off. And yes, if you back tested, if you bought in, I think April the 6th this year was the low point, 28 something dollars. Wow. You're up 130% to date. But that's not been the case for previous years. But like I mentioned before about metals repositioning, copper has done it, lead has done it. And these are huge markets. Millions, I think millions of tons. Just, you know, and silver is 500,000 tons. And I don't know if it was in the question, but this just comes to mind. 2024, retail investment in gold was $100 billion. Retail investment in silver was $2 billion. Now, if this 2025 was similar, gold has been a distraction, hasn't it? I said that on Commodity Culture about 5 months ago, I think. Gold is a complete and absolute distraction. Everything in the media is about gold, gold this, gold that, buy this. You know, we're going to get a revaluation, we're going to get gold back this, gold back that, buy gold. Well, silver has nearly outperformed gold twofold this year.
True.
Being a complete distraction. And some people say gold is a store of wealth and silver is for bartering. No. Silver is a store of wealth. Fact. It's also very useful for bartering, so it's both.
I agree with that.
Gold is tricky because it increases, the amount of gold increases 2-3% every year, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. And we look after it. So most of it is still above ground in one physical form or another. Silver, we're depleting. So which is the better store? The thing that's getting more rare is going to be, has got the better upside.
What is currently going on with the demands with the LBMA and COMEX? I've heard that refineries are starting to take limited quantities of alloyed silver now.
I've heard they're taking zero. I just spoke to, can I mention company names? Tell you what, I'll flash a bar up with their, is that the right one? Yeah, I'll flash a bar up with the name very quickly. So you'll have to freeze to find out which company I'm talking about. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Okay. So that company, if you want to, as a dealer, sell 90% silver to them, we'll give you $9 back of spot.
Wow.
The reason is they do not know how long they've got to carry that as inventory when retail is not really buying it on bulk. So they are hedging, and they might have to hold this for a year or more before they can sell it. Well, when a big company or a lot of companies, they hedge. So when you hedge, it means you're covered against the downside, unless you hit your margin call and can't meet it. But let's say it works. So you're okay. If silver drops, you're not going to lose. But if silver goes up, you don't get the gain. So it's not asymmetrical. It's just a very narrow chance of making money on it. So this is why the retail and wholesale offering first for repurchasing is abysmal. And the reason they're having to price in to carry it for an indefinite period is the refiners are not taking alloyed silver. And even if you could get it to refiner, you might have to wait 6 months, 9 months, 10 months before they refine it and you get paid. So you have to finance that and you have to hedge it. So they do the math and they work out what they expect the worst case scenario is, hence $9 back of spot.
Understood.
So as a dealer, if somebody offered me $1 million of 90%, I would have to offer them $10 back of spot, because I'm only going to get $9 back if I buy the silver and then get it to my wholesaler.
You mentioned commodity call. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. So it's tragic, really, because in a way, the 90% is the best silver to have for security. Finite. There's, they're not going to mint anymore. It's pretty secure against forging because you've got so many different dates. You've got different dates, different mints, different condition. So if you get mixed, I'm not saying it's impossible to forge a bag of mixed dimes, but the costs, the upfront costs, will be so high that if you've ever seen a bag of real dimes, you'd spot them a mile off, because there'd be too many repeating the same, and then you'd have to artificially age, wear, and oxide, the reaction of the silver with the sulfur, the silver sulfide on the surface. You'd have to. So it is very secure, even for a novice, if you've seen the real stuff, and it just sounds right when you. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can.
Doesn't that just sound right?
It does.
So it's a tragedy, really. I mean, we're selling it 50 cents back a spot for small orders, $1 back for bigger ones, and for a big order, we could probably negotiate a way back a spot.
I noticed you mentioned commodity culture, which I watched a good bit, and you were mentioning on there that you were having issues getting certain products.
Oh,
is that
yeah.
Situation?
About 6-7 weeks ago, there was no Royal Canadian Mint 100-ounce bars.
Wow, that's pretty.
Then they came. They are, aren't they? It's simple. It's got a nice shape. Just simple cast bar, beautifully executed, 4.9 fine, serialized, date, the year on it as well. Can you see the year?
Oh, yeah.
You can. Beautiful. Yeah, they're nice and simple. And now they are extinct again. Can't get any more. I have heard from the second largest wholesaler in the US that the Royal Canadian Mint is only making silver maples now. They're not making any bars.
Is it just because there's so much push for the COMEX?
It's several reasons. The key reason that I surmise is that the lease rates to lease silver shot up to 30% a year, or 100% a year if you take short leases by the day. The annualized cost was 100% a year. And I never realized, but most mints, including government mints, lease for silver, which historically has cost them sometimes nothing. Sometimes they've even been paid because they're responsible to store it and insure it. And then they make their coin and their bars, and then they sell them. And when they sell them, they pay off the lease.
Okay.
They're not doing that now. It makes no sense, because the lease cost could be $2-3 an ounce. Whereas if you're making a maple and the wholesaler is selling it for $1.85 or $2, and the retailer is adding, we add about $1.25. Some retailers offer, I don't know, I think they pick a phone number sometimes, and you see some dealers' prices. There's no proposition. They don't see, in effect, if they leased silver and made lots more maples to meet the demand, the price to the wholesalers would be $5 a coin. The wholesaler will put on 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents, So they've just chosen to reduce the amount of coins they're minting. Add to that, some coins around the world are sold out in their own country. So less and less are getting imported into the US, less are available. The good old Britannia, probably the most beautiful bullion coin, isn't it?
Oh, I agree with that.
I think it is. Just the degree, the detail, the quality, the shine,
Even the old stuff. The old Britannias, even the Britannia Silver Britannias. I love them all.
Most dealers in the UK are out of stock. They sold out.
Wow.
It's the wholesale premium in the US. Again, I just decided a few days ago, really, what's the point? I'll tell people my business model. The wholesale premium on Britannias now is $3.60, whereas the wholesale premium on Eagles is, we can't get any 2026s. They're not being released. So the wholesale premium on sealed monster boxes is $2.60. So Eagles are $1 cheaper than Britannias now. Wow. I never thought I would see that happen. The Britannia was always between the Britannia and the Philharmonic and the Crew Grand and the Kangaroo, they were always $2-3 less than an Eagle. So that tells me that, although there's some shortage of some coins here, in other countries, the public have woken up and have bought up all the production of their mints.
That would make sense. Yeah, especially when you consider that you have to pay extra money in England for buying silver. That tells them how much.
20% purchase tax. They call it value added tax.
Taxing money.
Yes, but the upside on owning a Britannia in the UK is, say silver goes, you make, 300% profit on it. In the US, they'll take 28% tax on that, federal tax. In the UK, there is zero tax on the gain.
Okay.
So, and you can purchase them secondhand, previously enjoyed, and then there's no VAT due. The seller can elect to charge or not charge.
Understood. With silver and copper added to the critical minerals list, I personally have invested some money in mining stocks.
Yep.
Yet China is wanting to control metals exports. China and India demanding physical delivery of silver, and now Russia is starting to stack silver. Is this part of the rising price of silver, in your opinion?
Yes, I think yes, absolutely. You mentioned earlier about mining stocks, so I'm going to give my opinion. Any miners watching or mining stock fans, leave the room. I think the risk of a central CBDC, central bank currency, digital, Fed now, it's not a risk, it's 100% certainty it's going to happen. When it happens, every asset that is digitally recorded anywhere that a US citizen owns and has access to will be tokenized and connected to their digital FedNow account. Therefore, eventually, and it might be sooner than we would like, you will be automatically constrained from what you can and cannot do with the dollars in your digital account. So if you sell your mining stock, one, the tax will be taken instantly at the worst case scenario, and you'll have to appeal and claim it back. So that's your 28% gone, even if the IRS is not due that amount. But two, now you've got digital dollars. And in that system, I think we will be constrained on if we can use that to purchase precious metals. Because the object of the financial system is to extract simple store of wealth from the populace. That is the objective. So I'm not going near any shares in anything. It's too risky. The risk of what I just proposed, even if it was a 10% risk, and I think it's 100% risk, is too great, because we do not know today, except that it will probably almost certainly be a Friday, when a system seizes up and they introduce the digital solution after a long weekend.
That's what has happened in the past.
It's always over a weekend when Credit Suisse, I don't know if I've got a Credit Suisse bar here. I think I have. What was that? No, that's Argor. So when Credit Suisse went to the Swiss government, they went to the government on a Friday and said, we're $100 billion in trouble. The Swiss government met with UBS and the Credit Suisse people. They changed the law. So they literally changed the law illegally. That wrote off $14 billion of Saudi ownership of Credit Suisse. They had first lien. They should have been paid out whatever. They lost their $14 billion. Credit Suisse was dissolved, broken up. UBS took most of it, and UBS was given a $100 billion line of credit not from the Swiss central bank, but directly from the Swiss government. And then that was announced on a Monday. Job done. Laws changed. So what? Nothing to see here.
Now,
And Switzerland used to be held up as a bastion of financial responsibility and, and privacy and looking after people's personal financial rights. Not anymore. A lot of people say, oh, store your metals in Singapore. So anybody who stores in Singapore, or what's his name, the Singapore gold guy, tune out. That can change in an hour over a weekend. Something dramatic happens, some war, some shift, some earthquake. The risks is too much to have your metal stored in another country. Much greater than having it stored in this country.
Understood.
For the crazy governments we've had, this one, the last one, the one before that, the one before that, for living memory, the heinous things, right? From Roosevelt, stealing people's gold, and Nixon coming off the gold standard, and Americans being banned from buying gold in the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can't buy gold, really? What am I trying to say there? I still think this is probably the safest country in the world to live in. For all of our faults and for all of our divisions, I think when it comes to it, most people will pull together. Most neighbors will help each other, and we'll get sensible really fast.
Well, community is arguably the most important part of us coming together and sound money.
Absolutely. I mean, that's in one of Lynette's her five things, isn't it?
I think it's 7.
Is it 7? Her 7? Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Where do you see the U.S. going with mining metals, drilling oil, fracking natural gas? What turnaround time from executive orders or laws being passed to our economy being more reliant on in-house production and then exporting to challenge countries like Russia in the global economy?
Oil. We're in a whole world of trouble because our refineries are set up to refine heavy crude, not sweet, light. What's the Texas grade, the sweet, light? I've forgotten what the technical term is. Our refineries are not geared to handle it. So we export that, and we import the heavy, where we break it down and extract the diesel and the kerosene, the gasoline, and all the other good chemicals we can get out of it. So it doesn't matter how much oil we produce. If we get stuck where people don't want to buy our exports, and it's happening, and we've got to keep importing, we could be a net producer, but we can't use what we produce. And there'll come a point where there's nowhere left to store it, so we'll stop fracking. And the problem with fracking, one big problem I see on a scientific scale is when you frack, they do create a lot of gas, and some of that gas is collected, and that gas is a waste product. So it goes to generate electricity. So we've had sprung up a lot of gas-powered power stations, which are relatively cheap and quick to build and produce cheap electricity. So if we reduce the fracking, the gas goes away, the price of electricity soars. So we're in a mess energy-wise. And I don't see how it can be quickly sorted out unless somebody's going to spend 5-10 billion building new refineries, because I guess you probably can't convert an existing refinery, or if you do, it's out of production, and the costs to do that are too great a risk for the oil companies to do. Are we going to get a government sensible enough to say, do you know what, we really need to have enough infrastructure so we can process our own oil? I doubt it. So on the oil side, we're in trouble. We make the wrong type of oil for the refineries we have.
I didn't know that was our current situation.
That's our situation. So it doesn't matter that we're a net producer of energy. Already we're losing contracts for supplying that light sweet around the world. And if we think the Saudis are our friends, so any Saudis, or please leave the room. This is not racial or personal. They're not our friends. They'll do what's best for them. Well, are we anybody's friends around the world, or we just do what's best for us? Well, that's America first, isn't it?
It's business.
It's America first, second, third, and last.
That's it.
And without world cooperation, we're going to end up producing oil that we can't use, so we'll stop producing it. And we'll end up with diesel shortages and gasoline shortages. We'll end up with $10 gasoline. I'm predicting that now. We will see in 1, 2, maybe 3 years, $10 gasoline. So I would suggest don't go out and buy a big thirsty V8, which is exactly what I did for my birthday. I bought myself a 1957 Studebaker, but I'm not going to drive it far.
Sounds like it's something for car shows.
Yes.
I know you're a proponent of rhenium and osmium, although
Yep.
they're not common metals in the stacking community. How do you see these metals playing a part in the global economy, and how do you think it affects the current stacker or collector?
It doesn't practically affect the current stacker collector, because if you look at the figures, $2 billion a year goes to retail silver. It's only in, I don't know, 10, 20, I don't know. I mean, we're the only bullion dealer selling rhenium. So we sold a few $1 million. I'm not allowed to say exactly how much I sold in case the black Suburbans turn up and ask me for my rhenium. So it doesn't really affect the stacker. It could, if silver becomes impossible to buy, then one would need to look at other metals and look at what the characteristics of supply to demand, the price sensitivity, the sensitivity of consumption to price, the sensitivity of production to price. Those are key things. And rhenium ticks all of the boxes, I think, as good as any other metal. The production can't easily be increased because it's a byproduct of a byproduct, and the uses are high-end uses. You know, if it takes $100,000 of rhenium to make a $200 million plane, or if it takes $1 million, what are they going to do? Are they going to build the plane or not build the plane? They're going to build the plane, especially if it's a military F-47 or a SR-72 or a missile or a military satellite, a civilian satellite. They're going to build it. You know, when we build gas-fired power stations, they have rhenium turbine blades. What are we going to do? Are you going to not build that power station because it's going to cost another 1%, 0.5% because rhenium has gone up 10 times? No, the demand will not drop. So the characteristics are near perfect. The setup is near perfect. The only thing that would mess it up if we go Mad Max, but that messes everything up.
Well, getting back to the topic of the stacker and the collector,
Yep.
You named your company in the order that you prefer most common clients to look at their portfolio: silver, gold, osmium.
Yeah, I mean, we are registered as ARK Silver LLC. We registered in July 2020. You can check that out in the Wyoming Registered of Companies. So we're in good standing as a registered bullion dealer. When did we go gold osmium? We went ARK Silver Gold Osmium when we sort of rebranded and did that as a doing business as. And that coincided with us becoming closely connected with the Osmium Institute in Germany, you know, and seeing, wow, the rarest form of the rarest metal, which happens to be the 8th precious metal, which also happens to be highly likely the rarest element. I mean, it fights with rhenium as being the rarest element in the Earth's crust, except that it's even harder to collect osmium than it is to collect rhenium. And rhenium is really hard to extract.
Well, regarding your business, ARK Silver Gold Osmium, what deals or specials do you have available now?
Oh my, we've got various 10-ounce bars. So we've got things like these pretty Atmex bars, Silvertown products, the standard waffle back, just very basic, crude, but at spot, so no premium. What else is good? Like we talked earlier about 90%, $50 are really good at the moment. They used to be a little bit more expensive than the regular 90%. There's only 15 cents in it now per ounce silver content, from $0.50 to dimes and quarters. So now is the time, if you're buying, is to buy the halves. And that's all of them. That's the Franklins, that's the Kennedys, and the Walking Liberties. So those have never had such a low premium that I can remember. We do also have, we do have 1 ounce platinum in bars in the Isle of Man Noble. Look at that beautiful Viking ship.
Beautiful.
And we have platinum eagles. So even though platinum is trying to knock on the door of $2,000, I still think it's a better bet than gold. You know, it's 27 times rarer. Some people say 40. So it's multitudes rarer than gold, and it does have uses that only platinum can do. So I think platinum is a good proposition to add to one stack. And then, yeah, day to day we get deals, like silver rounds at a $1 back of spot, which is, I think, a pretty good deal.
Could you show those last two coins? Because you froze on me. I'll try to doctor the
Sure.
video.
So we've got Isle of Man Nobles.
A little higher. You froze on me. Oh, there you go. And those are silver or platinum?
Platinum.
Wonderful.
So wealth density, it in a way, I mean, as a monetary metal, and it is a monetary metal, whatever people say, it is a good bridge between silver and gold. The downside is the premiums are higher, so the spread is higher, and the other downside is there's hardly any left in the retail industry. But definitely worth considering. If you're thinking of buying gold, I think you should be weighing it against platinum.
I know a few people that are
gold hovering around 4,350. Platinum is less than half the price. Also fascinating, if you look at the silver to platinum ratio, it's about the lowest it's ever been since 1970. It takes 29 ounces of silver will buy 1 ounce of platinum. The peak, I think, was 165 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of platinum. Wow. So platinum is undervalued compared to silver. I would say silver is undervalued compared to gold, and gold is undervalued compared to the dollar. So if you look at it that way, platinum is the thing to buy.
I know a few people who think that way, especially someone I know that really loves ship coins and ship bars.
Okay. He must have one of these then.
Let me bring you back up again.
He must have the Noble.
I bet you he doesn't. And as soon as he sees this video, he's watering.
That's the Isle of Man. I think that's the 1980s. And they usually have low mintages, only a few thousand coins as well a year.
I didn't know that was quite that low. Not so much of a platinum bug. I just got enough to make me watch the market.
Okay. And then, of course, palladium is interesting, except there isn't any available now that I'm aware of. Not at sensible premiums, but we do have some of these 1 ounce palladium bars, Argo, Heraeus. Wow. So palladium's interested because it does the same job as platinum in catalytic converters for diesel or gasoline. And palladium has the advantage. It's half the density, so it goes twice as far when you're coating the matrix in the catalytic converter. So you only need half the amount by weight. And it's cheaper than platinum at the moment. So I think palladium is going to be a growth use as a catalyst.
Understood. Well, those are all the questions I have for right now. Is there anything that you would like to add for the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many distortions. It is really hard keeping up with the premiums, and it's hard keeping up. Some things seems to be hanging around, and other stuff, some big whale comes in and buys it all. I keep an eye and I try to get a feel of the flow of the metals, watching the largest wholesalers' lists. And sometimes, like, I don't know, 12,000 coins somebody will buy them all at once. So the dynamics on that, and the industry is basically running on secondary market product at the moment. And that's going to grind to a halt because the surplus that the wholesalers get that they can't turn over, they don't want the carrying cost, gets melted, turned into the 1,000 ounce bars and disappears. And I have more of an anecdotal proof of that. And this is a repeat of 3 years ago. The refiners are buying 1,000 ounce bars again from the refineries. Sorry, the refiners are concentrating just on 1,000 ounce bars. And the reason I know that is I can get more per ounce selling a 1,000 ounce bar to a wholesaler than I can anything else almost. Even a coin, even a Britannia, I'll get less below spot. I'll get more penalty than even a 100 ounce bar. I'll get less if I sell 10 100 ounce bars to a wholesaler than I get for selling 1,000 ounce bar. because the 1,000-ounce bar has extra value because it is in the form of a 1,000-ounce bar. That doesn't make much sense, does it? The logic always told us that the smaller the size, the greater the premium. It's the opposite at the moment.
It sounds
because
like
there is a demand, there's a shortage of 1,000-ounce bars.
So they wouldn't have to spend the energy and
it's there ready for them to sell on.
Ready.
Exactly. So I'll sell a 1,000-ounce bar to a wholesaler, and they'll sell it to a refiner, and the refiner will sell it to an industrial user because they can't make or one of the exchanges.
Wow.
So there is a shortage of 1,000-ounce bars. If there's a shortage of 1,000-ounce bars, we're in trouble again.
That makes a lot
when
of
I
sense.
say we're in trouble, anybody who owns silver is not in trouble, but the people who have to use it and people that want to buy it in the future are in trouble.
That makes sense.
Because usually, I mean, that's why you've got those two slices there. When premiums blow out on the smaller stuff and on the minted stuff, this is why Silverback and Jim Forsyth started making the slices to bring back into control of the smaller businesses the ability to produce fractional silver by slicing up 1,000-ounce bars and selling it at a lower premium than a minted bar. But now we've got a shortage of 1,000-ounce bars. That window is closing on the ability to do that. So I better get my setup quick and start slicing.
I might come help you.
Yeah, I can send you some blank slices and you can stamp what you want on them.
Oh, there's too many gorillas. They look too much like my sister. She's she's a beast.
Is she watching this?
If she was, she'd be here beating me with a stick. Well, that covers all my questions. So basically, all of you in the stacking and collectors community, I can't say this enough. Ian knows his business. He's been doing it for a while. Please look at his company if you're looking to buy precious metals, silver, gold, even if you're into osmium, and in that order for building your stack, building your portfolio. So go see this guy. His contact information will be in the description below. So I want to thank you, Ian, for coming on board with me and for all the education. We got to do this again. We got some other projects that you and I've talked about, which we'll bring to the stacking community. I want to thank everyone for being part of the channel. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and come and see us on the next one here on Tiger Stacker. Thank you, Ian, for all your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tiger.
Bye, everyone.